our next speaker to kick off the day, couldn't do it in a more fun, exciting way, is Mr. Jebsen. He's here today to share his ideas on movement. As a youngster, Jebsen was an ice skater, and he began competing in swimming at 8 years old. He was All-American in high school, and his last swim meet was at 75 2 years ago, where he took first in all his events. His undergraduate degree is Bachelor of Science, and his graduate degree is a Master of Fine Arts in Ceramic Art and Design. You know this is going to be fun. He started the ceramics department at University of Central Florida in 1972. A number of years ago, Stephen became aware of CDC figures on people over 65 falling down. This began his path of discovering how we can all have longer, healthier, more productive lives. Today, he will show us how using his games and playings and toys enrich and enhance our lives. And I'm excited to introduce Mr. Stephen Jebsen.
Can you hear me okay? Am I speaking too loud? Am I speaking too soft? I saw a little girl, a young girl as I came in here, and she was born in Taiwan, and she said something to me, and we began to speak. This is just a few moments ago, and somehow I mentioned the fact that I teach tightrope walking, and she pulled up her t-shirt, and there's a tattoo on her shoulder of someone on a tightrope. I made the hair on my body stand up. Okay, I'd like everybody in the room to please stand up. Thank you. Now, I'd like you to begin to stamp your feet and clap your hands. And now begin to shout, 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 shout. Yes! Are you awake now? You're going to find my talk very, very easy to remember. And my words are going to follow you. You're going to be able to remember a lot of the things I say, but it's really, what I'm saying is so simple that it's going to be easy for you to remember, and you will remember it. And that is, what I am all about is helping people make their hands and feet quick and accurate all of their lives. I want people to die with a healthy brain. And I want people to be clear and sharp-headed right up till the end of their lives. And by learning to use your hands and feet to become quick and accurate, there is nothing that enriches the brain the way that does. I've been studying this now for a number of years. And I'm going to share it, my message, so easy. It's so easy, everyone's going to remember it, and that is quick and accurate hands and feet all of your lives. And these are the people that you all know so much of what I'm going to say already, but it's for the people that you're going to encounter, that you're going to see. And your relatives, your mothers, your fathers, if you can keep them keeping their hands and feet quick and accurate. I have stood up all of my adult life, pretty much. I stood up to make pottery. I started out sitting down, and I had some very severe back problems. And so I began, and all the older guys back in the 60s when I was learning to make pottery, all those people were the guys that were 70 when I was in my 30s. They were all standing up to make pottery, and it turned out to be much, much healthier. I was more productive, and so that's what I've done as an adult. And as a kid, I was turned loose on the world at 5 years old. My parents could not control me, so they that my dad gave me a watch at 5 and said, when the large hand is straight up and the small hand is at 6, you will be home for dinner. And he built at 3, and the reason that he did that at 5 was he built an enclosure around the sandbox and would pick me up and put me inside this enclosure at 3. And they would come back expecting me to be there a half an hour later, and I had escaped. And then at 4, they put a little dog harness on me, and they tethered me to the clothesline and put my toes under the clothesline, and so I could play outside in a beautiful place with my toys, and I was hooked to something so I could move around. But they thought when they came back in a half an hour later that I'd be there, and I was gone. And then my father would bellow out my name across the neighborhood, Stephen. Perhaps 10 years ago, I became aware of the CDC figures on people falling down over 65. That's what I was most interested in at the time. And the figures were approximately 2 million people over 65 fell down and went to the emergency room. And of those 2 million people that fell down and went to the emergency room, 1 million were admitted to the hospital. And the cost of those falls was in the billions of dollars. And if you fall down over 65 and you break a hip, this is what really got me. If you break a hip over 65, 20% of that number is going to be dead in a year, and 80% of the remaining number are never going to live independently again. I thought, I can help. I had been teaching. I taught tightrope walking, loose rope walking. I can walk up to 2 trees 10 meters apart with a 1-inch polypropylene rope 50 feet long, and I can tie it around one tree, and once that rope passes over itself, it doesn't release, and go over to the other tree, and I can step upon it and walk. Not a lot, but I can take a few steps, and that's what I could do. And so I thought, well, I can help. I can help people because my balance is so relatively well trained. And that's what it is, it's trained. We've all got pretty much the same balance, I think. And my first speaking was to groups at the Florida hospital. I spoke to outpatient Parkinson people. And I would go into a room like this, and people would just begin to talk. They were outpatients, so they had been driven there. And they would all say, well, I'm doing all of this physical activity, and it seems to be putting off the development of my Parkinson. It seems to be putting off my Parkinson getting worse. And so I was talking to the choir. I was disheartened. I was talking to people, sharing all these things, but they all knew. To a person, to a man and a woman, they all said, I'm doing all this physical stuff. I'm moving, keeping moving. Anyway, I thought I was speaking to the choir, and so I began to study. And I studied anthropology, I studied physiology, I studied the brain, and I discovered that there is nothing that enriches the brain more supercharged more quickly than learning to do something new with your hands and feet. The crucial part of what I'm saying is the fact that it was something new. It was novel. You hadn't done it before. And the first 500 times you do something new with your hands or feet causes the biggest changes in the brain. If you go from not knowing anything about shooting marbles or playing jacks, 0, and the next day, the jump is infinite. You go from 0 to anything, and it's a huge statistic, or whatever the number would be. It's a huge jump. And then the next 499 times up to 500. Anyway, the first 500 times you do something causes the biggest changes in the brain. And from 500 to 10,000, I get excited and I speak loud. And it's not because I'm angry, it's just because I'm excited. So the next 500 to 10,000 do not cause as big a changes. Are any of you aware of seeing the videos of people with no arms doing things with just their feet? Have any of you seen those videos? Yeah. Turns out the feet are just as trainable as the hands. So, and I think most people's feet are pretty dumb. Soccer players are an exception. Basketball players, when you can move like LeBron and Seth, that's pretty wonderful. Has anybody here seen the Walport talk on the real reason for brains? I highly write this down, and I want you all to look at the Walport, W-L-P-E-R-T talk on TED on the real reason for brains. And he starts out the talk with, there's a little animal called a sea squirt, and it's got a very rudimentary nervous system, and it wiggles around in the ocean until it finds a place to fasten to the bottom and becomes sessile, like a tree or a tomato plant. And then this little animal dissolves its nervous system, it consumes its own nervous system for energy. All it needed it for was to move around. Movement is key. We're an animal. Korzybski, that Polish count, said plants are chemical binders. They take the chemicals, the water in their environment with sunlight and combine it into what they are. And then animals other than humans are chemical binders. They take what's in their environment and put it in and combine it in their body. And that's what they are. They're chemical binders, but they're also space binders because animals move around. And we happen to be what he called time binders. We're chemical binders, space binders, and we combine the past, the now, and the future into what we are. A few years ago in Germany, they did a study on juggling. And this is what kicked it off for me personally. This is what really was an epiphany for me. And they had a control group from just the population, and then they had the group that was going to learn to juggle. And they had somebody come in and give them juggling lessons, and then sent them home to practice 20 minutes a day for the next 2 months. And they came, and the people, they took an fMRI of all of these people, the control group, the people that were going to go off and study juggling, and told them to think about juggling. And nothing came up specifically that they thought was related to that in their thoughts, because there wasn't anything particularly for them to think about. Well, the people went home. The control group didn't do anything. They just went about their business. And the people who went home to learn to juggle, there were maybe 60 of them. And when they came back 2 months later, half of them had learned to juggle pretty well. And the other half were still stumble bumblers like me. It took me a long time to learn to juggle. I took a long, long time to learn to juggle. And so half had learned to juggle pretty well, and half were still throwing up and dropping. Okay, they did an fMRI at this time again of the control group. What about their brains? Told them to think about juggling. What about their brains? No change, just like when they took it originally. Now they took an fMRI of the people that had learned to juggle well, and their brains lit up like a Christmas tree. And then there was the other half of that 60 group who had practiced but were not very good at it. What about their brains? Does anybody know? You can shout it out. You can just say it out. Lit up like a Christmas tree too. It doesn't make any difference how well you learn to do something new physically. It's just the fact that you're trying that causes the magnificent changes in your brain. Yes. I said, I can figure that out. I had already produced a video where I taught juggling, tightrope walking, loose rope walking, unicycle riding, and knife throwing. I throw knives like the man in the circus. When I am on at 12 feet, I can throw with a knife in my right hand and my left hand and at 12 feet and throw them, and the knives will come together and stick at something the size of my thumbnail, a dime. That's when I'm practiced. We were hunter-gatherers for 1,800,000 years. And you're probably all aware that agriculture has only been around for 11,000 years. We've had fire for quite a while, and that makes lots of different kinds of things that we eat more digestible. We can get more value from our food. So, for 1,800,000 years, an animal, us, that's how long us, they think, the anthropologists think, we have been around. We were hunter-gatherers, and we got better and better and better at hunter-gathering until just before agriculture. It was what anthropologists call the golden age of man. And I talked to my sister on the phone about this, and I said, the anthropologists called the golden age of man just before agriculture. She said, yes, that's what they're talking about in the Bible. That's the Garden of Eden. They had this ancient memory of a time when it only took a couple of hours, 2 hours, approximately a day, to make our shoes. There was a time when we could do everything. Each of us could make our clothing, take care of our food needs, know how to go out and gather food, could build a structure, could survive. When we humans are born, the first 12 years of our lives were spent, the little girls followed their mothers, and the little boys followed their fathers. In the very beginning, they practiced with fake bow and arrows or toy bow and arrows, and they practiced that. But they got really, really good at surviving. And Jepsen thinks that the meaning of life is to grow to sexual maturity, to survive, that's what those first years are, till sexual maturity, and cast our genetic material into the future. Just like tomato plants and snails, polar bears, oak trees, everything else seems to be cast your seed into the future. And the more I think about that, that just seems to be just exactly right. The hunter-gatherers did not evolve and adapt in a time of excess. They probably were not chubby. They eat at all. And so we no longer need to move to eat. We used to have to move to eat. We had to move to eat. We don't have to move to eat anymore. We can go to the refrigerator or go down to the corner to McDonald's or someplace like McDonald's, good, whatever, and get some food in our car. Okie doke. When we were born, we could not even lift our heads up off the table the day after we were born. At 9 months, most of us can walk. At 2, most of us can quick step, can go upstairs, downstairs. At 3 or 4, our parents take us to a place where there are giants running around, screaming and yelling and laughing and having a wonderful time. And they're on swings, and they're on teeter-totters, and they're on merry-go-rounds spinning around, and they're on monkey bars. As a child, I was good at monkey bars. I was a little tiny kid, and for whatever reason, I was pretty good at that. And the deal was to start at one end, somebody start at the other, and then plan your moves so that you could go out and get your feet around their waist. Do any of you remember that? I was pretty good at that, actually, even though I was quite small. So for the first years of our lives, we started out, could lift our head up, learn to walk, learned to quick step, went to the playground. And then many of us, I was a swimmer as a kid, a little bit of an ice skater, and we did those things. Soccer, baseball, football, tennis, ice skating, all the different things we did. And maybe we were on some college team someplace doing something else. But then we began to sit studying, sit eating, moving in an automobile, an airplane, a bus, sit. And you're all aware now that sitting is being called the new smoking, correct? Yes? Yes, sitting is being called the new smoking. Sedentary behavior is death. It's a long, slow, ever-sickening slide to death. It's not healthy. Being physically active is the single most important thing in all the books I've read, even books on diet. Diet comes in second. If you're a lumberjack or a Tour de France kind of person, you can consume massive amounts of calories, but not the rest of us. Sitting down combined with lots of calories is not a good combination. When astronauts leave the Earth and go out into space, are any of you aware of how much we age? We age at 10 times the rate that we age here on Earth. Gravity forms us. We are a product of gravity. You are all a product of gravity. We are all a product of gravity. Gravity forms us. And that's what I'm all about, is just this movement. And learning to do new things with your hands and your feet produces something called cognitive reserve. I want surplus. I want extra. I want redundancy up here so that they used to think that when you're born, you are born with pretty much all the brain cells you're ever going to have all of your life. I was pre-med and pre-dent at one time, and I took science courses, and that's what they taught us, was that you're born with all the brain cells, but there's so many of them that you can lose them and 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 lose them, and it's all right because we got a lot of them, and it's not so. Right now, your brains are being changed inexorably just by being in this room and listening to me. Everything you do physically, probably everything you do almost changes your brains. And learning new movement is the single most powerful way to change your brains. Neuroplasticity. There's no upper limit. Oh, by the way, it says in there I'm 74. I'll be 78 my next birthday. I spent 4 hours on the river yesterday kayaking. It was glorious. It was a beautiful day. Got in just before the rain started. So imagine getting up in the morning after sleeping all night and going into the kitchen and sitting down and eating breakfast. And then you finish breakfast, and then you go out and you get in your car and you drive to work sitting down. And then you go to work and you sit at a desk all day. Not you folks, not you, but this is pretty much the rest of the Western world, or many of the Western world. And then afternoon comes. Or first lunch comes, sit at lunch. Then afternoon comes, sit home, sit on the couch, eating, watching television, eating and eating and eating. Sit. It's not good. What are these? So perfect. Who said that? Good for you. Good for you. These are remote controls, smartphones, just cell phones, what different things. Okay. We've got a remote for the fans, a remote for the lights, a remote for the air conditioner, a remote for the heat, a remote to open the gate in front of the house, a remote to start the car. We got remotes for everything. God damn it, we don't have to move anymore. Technology is killing us. Technology is killing us. What you're doing is wonderful for people. Keeping people moving is key to staying healthy. I have, when I was first came to Florida, I had 740 pounds of free weights. I had a chin-up bar. I had a dip rack. I wrote a personal handwritten letter to a guy named Franco Colombo, one letter, and another letter to a guy named Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is in the early 70s, I'd heard these guys were getting all beefed up, and I wanted them to come to my gym. I said, I'll get some people together, and you can give a little workshop at my gym. Talk to us about what's the best way we can be doing this stuff. They never wrote back to me. Who no, that Schwarzenegger guy, he became famous. There is nothing unusual about me, people. Nothing at all unusual about me. What's unusual is what I have chosen to do. That's all. And that's a choice. Anybody can do that. Anybody can do this stuff. Anybody. Quick and accurate, hands and feet. Quick and accurate hands and feet. That's what I'm all about. It creates cognitive reserve in a supercharged way, I promise you. And it's things like typing, guitar playing, jacks. If I came up here and I said, oh, we're all going to learn to juggle today, no. I would not do that. First of all, when I started to learn to juggle, I learned to juggle at 48. I learned to tightrope walk at 55. I learned to loose rock walk in my 50s. Anyway, I just picked these things out to do. Oh, this is neat. They're telling me how much time is remaining up here. And all of the things that I do, and they start out very, very simply. And both foot stuff, my wonderful gal, she helped me. I used to do this talk, and I had stuff scattered all over. And she said, oh, put the hand stuff on one side and the foot stuff on the other. And she helped me arrange this today. And so I got all the foot stuff over there, and the hand stuff over there. I got my hopscotch touch. My hopscotch touch there. Okay. So all this, the gift of play. Quick hands and feet, enriched brains, and it's all the gift of play. It's like jacks. As a kid, I can do jacks with my non-dominant hand. I used to say left hand. I would talk to an audience, and then finally, I've given this talk over and over. I would ask, how many people in here have are left-handed, and the hands would go up, and I'd say, okay, non-dominant hand. I learned to do chopsticks a number of years ago, and then I learned to do chopsticks with my non-dominant hand. I had little spheres made out of glass, steel, and wood, and I could pick them up with chopsticks. I didn't get good at it. I just was able to do it. What did I say about when you first learn to do something new physical? It's powerful. It is so powerful. If you already know how to ride a bicycle, you already know how to swim, you already know how to play tennis, you already know how to do all this different stuff, it's time, not necessarily for you people. You're doing something new all the time in your gym with your people, but otherwise, people that already know how to do a whole bunch of those things, it's time to learn to do something new. When I was some people think you slow down and then you grow old. That's the way it is. Some people think you grow old and then you slow down. No, it's just exactly the opposite from that. You slow down and then you grow old. You become inactive, and then that ages you. So the astronauts, they go out into space. And Dr. Joan Vernikos, the woman that rehabilitated the astronauts for NASA, when they would come back from space, the astronauts were all in excellent shape, are all in excellent shape when they leave the Earth. And then when they come back, and that little thing that floats down with a parachute, they're picked up in a wheelchair, a gurney. They can't even walk. And so these premier athletes, the guys that went out into space, they got weakened. They aged at 10 times the rate that they age here on Earth. So if you're out for a year, you come back 10 years older, physiologically, test-wise. what happens to these people then? They all get right back into the shape that they were when they went out. I thought, I'm Dr. Vernikos, I'm learning this from her. They all get right back into shape. The implication of that is what? That at any moment in time, we can all begin to learn something new physically that's going to enrich our bodies. We can all, in a way, reverse the aging process, just the way the astronauts did. Exactly the way the astronauts did. There is no failure here with these things, with what Jepsen does. None. First of all, nobody's going to see you do it. Maybe. Or maybe you're going to do it with friends, so you're a groupie, you're going to get better together. But there's no failure in this. I used to ask my audiences, how long do you want to be sick at the end of your lives? How long do you want to live in a nursing home at the end of your lives? That's what I used to ask. And now I say, and just recently I thought, how long do you want to feel youthful? If you ski today, I build skateboard decks. I build boats. I build skates. I do a lot of different things, but I want to feel youthful as long as I am able. I look like an old man. I don't look in the mirror anymore because I hardly recognize, I don't feel that way. You're all so polite, all looking at me. Very, very few of you are using your little glowy thummies. Boy, there's going to be blowback for those things. There's going to be consequences we can't even imagine. They're good for crime scenes, and I've charged my battery in mine once so far in the last 8 months. It's in my car, and if I were going to come visit you, I would say hi. I'd ring you up, and I'd say hi. I'm out in the neighborhood, and I'm going to swing by. Is it okay? Or people are doing these really bad things to somebody else. They're doing hurtful things, and somebody catches it on a smartphone or a cell phone. I think that's a good thing. Gets it documented. Now we know what's happened. Anyway, I just love to do all of this stuff here, and I'm going to begin to very specifically talk about some of these various things. Oh, let's start with it really, 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 really easy. Oh, I almost forgot. Oh, this is what you've all been waiting for, I know. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Anyway, and the reason I do this is I want you to remember this, but beyond that, I want you to be able to see what's going on, what I'm doing. And so I'm a designer. The Smithsonian purchased a piece of my work and agreed to buy 9 more pieces. So I got my shoes real loose, so they come off real quick. And I've got, by the way, these are, hey now, these are running shorts. They've got a liner under them, okay? And people in the audience would say, that guy's up there in his underwear. And so for the first time ever for my talk, I'm just going to disconnect this and put it in the back of my shorts. They're running shorts, people, not underwear. I'm just going to put it actually inside. And have any of you seen How Will Stephen Know When He's Old? Have any of you looked at that up on the internet? When will Stephen Jepsen know when he is old? Look that up. You're going to be it'll make you laugh. It'll make you all laugh. And I don't know if I should tell you or I'll tell you. I will tell you. My father, when I was 8 years old, 1949, took me to the YMCA. My father was quite a wonderful athlete, and he would do pickup games at the Y. And this thing was built in the 1800s. It was a decrepit old building, and he would do. Anyway, he took me there when I was 8 years old. Down, and we'd go all around. The pool was tiny and it was green. I remember that. It was green, and there was a basketball court and a place where they had speed bags and so forth. But at the very end, he took me into the locker room, and all the old men, all the 60-year-olds, all the 50-year-olds, all the 40-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, the 20-year-olds were all sitting down to put their shoes on. Do I sit down to put my shoes on? You can answer that question. No, I don't sit down. I haven't sat down since I learned to put my shoes on. I haven't sat down to do that. I don't do that. And on the internet, it's going to make you laugh when you see it. Okay, so, and I'm going to take this, slip down here. Put this, I'll just put it in front, on the side. I'll put it on the side. It's still working. We've still got sound. You are all a very polite group of people. Anyway, why do you laugh? Okay. Now, I got one of these. These are bumpy balls. It cause your hands to be quick and accurate. When you drop them, they blink, blink. I got to hold a bunch of different ones, but I can anyway. I can drop them down and catch them. Quick and accurate hands and feet, so that when you're walking along and you catch a toe, you can recover. If when you folks get older, you're all young and spry now. If when you get older, you're walking along and you catch a toe and you're with somebody, you're right there, your daughter, your good friend, somebody's right there walking along with you, and you catch a toe and you're about to go to the ground, reach a hold of anything on them that you can grab and go down in a soft pile. Don't go down by yourself if you can help it. You think I'm kidding. It's much better to go down in a soft pile. First of all, you may not go down. They may be in such good balance or so strong that they keep you up. Otherwise, you're going to go down a soft pile, because if you shoot to the ground and shoot your right hand out or your left hand out, you can break a hand or a wrist. I've broken this 3 times skating, this once skating, majorly once this time, really, really bad. I got the 2 S words. The doctor said, you have shattered the bones in your right wrist, and it is severe. And in this one, they had to cut it open and put things in it and so forth. Okay, so anyway, so what I suggest people to do, and if you're all really, really quiet, if you're like you all are, you can be able to hear this. That's a joke, people. That's the reason I use this stainless steel thing. And I have little wooden spheres, and I don't have any, normally I don't do this with a golf ball. Whoops. Oh. Well, see, a golf ball is something larger than I have learned to pick up. Boy, these people with no arms, they could pick it up in a heartbeat. What? Oh, keep trying. Oh. Anyway, but the marbles, they're all different sizes, little tiny ones and bigger ones. You drop them in a bucket. And then, since you've got one of these, you can go over to where your hand things are. Do, 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 do. And you can pick up your drumsticks, and you can stand on one foot, and you can... I can't drum, but I can beat on a stainless steel can. And you can just, anything that you can think of, that's new. That's the crucial part, that it's novel, that it's new. That's what causes the big changes. Oh, and since we're over here, this is just a little piece of plywood. This is a hacky sack. Sometimes I can. By the way, I've got something called a one-wheel. Do any of you know what a one-wheel is? Yeah, check me. I guess I've been on the internet on that too. Anyway, just silly stuff. Oh, I'm over here. And then we got this. I used to be able to do this. There was a time in my life when I could. Oh, this thing is pulling my drawers down. Not much, kids. Not much. Anyway, so I got a jump rope here. Anyway, it was pulling my shorts down. And it's not a jump rope like any other jump rope. It's a jump rope like this, people. And so I can, whatever. This is Stephen's jump rope. You can all do this today. Oh, and we're over here. What is this? Cafeteria tray. I got a brand new one, light colored, so my other one was dark, and I'd done the same thing to it, but I've drawn some lines on this. And you start out, people, all of you start out sitting down, and I've got lines on this, and I can go back and forth, go to the center, to the right, left, and the circle. Anyway, it's the toughest. You can stand up. You can stand on one foot. You can do it with one hand. You stay there. Okay. Now, I like to make stuff. I got stuff up here that I just found or that I bought that's very, very inexpensive. They just closed. Toys R Us, I believe, just closed. But there are other places. But anyway, I made these. This is just a piece of plastic with handles on it. And of course, you can put a marble on this, it goes quick. Marble goes quicker. This is a two-fisted whopper. It's a one-fisted whopper. It's center, left-handed. Anyway, you get the idea. You get the idea. Thank you. Don't get silly now, I'll get all teary-eyed. Okay, I was supposed to go out to, I was going to go out to California, and they wanted me to do a little bag with some of my things in it. This is just PVC, folks. And I painted it orange because I didn't want people to say, oh, that's just a piece of PVC. And then I put black tape around one end, so I know where that black tape is. So I can do the half turn, the half turn, the half turn, and then I can do the full turn, the full turn, and then I can do the half turn, the half turn, the half turn. I like this weight better. And then I can do the full turn, and then when I'm on, I can do the whatever. Yes! Okay, now here, where did this come from? Toys R Us. And you can go into the Toys R Us just like I go into Toys R Us. I go into hardware stores and wander around and see what they got for sale, see what kind of tools they've got that I've never even seen before. And I think, what is that? And I read about it. It's used for adjusting brakes, or it's adjusting doing this or that. And then I'm at home at a later time, and I think, oh, I need a brake adjustment tool. I saw one of those once. I am constantly going places. An example would be a hardware store, a game store, a toy store, a sporting goods store, and just walk and very carefully look at everything. Anyhow, so this, there was a parrot. A sea captain had a parrot, and he had a comedian come in and entertain the guests on this ship, but always in the room where this magician was working was this parrot. And after the parrot watched this guy for a while, the magician, he would say, the flowers are under the table, they're under the table. Or he would say, he put the rabbit in the hat, he put it in there, it's not in there. And over, every time he would do a new trick, the parrot would watch and observe him, and then he would tell everybody how it was happening. Okay, so the ship has a very bad event. It gets a big hole in it, sinks, and the magician and the parrot end up out they're on the same floating device out in the ocean. And quite a bit of time passes. Quite a bit of time passes. And the parrot says to the magician, okay, where's the ship? Don't encourage me, people. Don't encourage me. Don't encourage me. Anyway, let's move these out a little farther. And even though I do give this talk, I don't practice these things. There was a time when I would first think of them. When I would first think of them, and I would practice them and get good at them. No reason for me to do that a long time. Where did this probably come from? And in this, I didn't even bring all the things. I'm just going to do a couple of them here. Imagine a woman that can change a baby, or can make a meal, or do the laundry. No arms. No arms. She does everything with her feet. Or a guy. I watched a guy repair his automobile. He had no arms. He opened the hood of the car, got up in there, opened the hood of the car up, and climbed up in and worked on the car. But then at the very end, he took a quarter-inch bolt, which is very narrow. It was a small little bolt, 6 inches long. He picked up a nut and threaded this nut on the end of a 3/4. So the feet are just as trainable as the hands. So you want to practice some things. So I've got this. Do. And there I drop that, and they're different shapes. They're different shapes, and that's what it teaches a child to do. And I just thought, oh, what an interesting thing. And so I did this. Bless you. Oh, and then after you've done that and practiced that, you can turn this thing up, right side up, and you can go over next door and say, hey, Gladys, look what I can do. Look what I can do. She won't be able to do it. Now, originally, yes, I'm going to take you along to my next audience, and you too. So, well, anyway, this is a can, just a can. And you don't have to buy, these things here. You don't have to buy, once again, Toys R Us. It's just nesting things. But you can get cans that nest, go inside each other. And so what I'm going to do here is put this on, and then, so it's a can. It's got a little piece of plywood glued to the bottom, and then a little, and I did catch that one. I did catch that one too. Anyway, I can do it with both feet. So I thought, well, so perfect. That's another story, and I don't know if I could tell it here. I probably shouldn't. Anyway, so what is this? It's a measuring cup, and I had to put a little piece of plywood on. First of all, I had to fasten the little thin bungee cord, epoxy it to it, and this was such a thin piece of plywood that it broke loose on one side, and I put Gorilla Glue on it, fastened it on, and to make this thing. And then I came up with this, and it's soft. It's soft. So, and it's in the kitchen. You can't use it again because I drilled holes in both sides. But that's another place you can go wander around and see what you could see that could be used to make your hands and feet quicker and more accurate at a culinary arts store. That's another thing. I learned to cook maybe in my 60s, and I'm a much better cook than I am up here on stage. I have some bottles. I have a whole series of bottles. That's another thing. You can go on the internet and see me. But sometimes I can. And I used to practice this, but I don't practice it so much anymore. And I'm not going to work at this too long because it's and then you can come on. And this is what that guy Jepsen came up with. Anyway, I over and over when I'm practiced, I can do that. Now, my hopscotch. I got a roll of 1-inch nylon webbing. That's what this is, nylon webbing. I couldn't cut this stuff. I went in the house and got a global serrated bread knife. Cut this like butter. Took it to my seamstress and asked her to sew these 12-inch squares together. So I've got 12-inch squares that, and I'm just going to arrange this. Up here you can't see what I've got, but I've got a 1, a 1, and I've got a 1, a 1, and then I've got doubles. I got 1, 2, 3 sets of doubles. And when I see doubles, for me, that means I spin. So anyway, I've got rings here, and I came in here and I was just comfortable with the way what it is. I made this just PVC, and I spray painted it so I could put it together fairly quickly the way I wanted to. Take it all apart, it goes in my stuff. Let's do this. Let's do it at an angle. An angle is good. And then, and let's put it a little bit farther apart. And imagine a 70-year-old, an 80-year-old, a 92-year-old, a 107-year-old. How low can you go? How low can you go? How low can you get? Do this 4 times, 10 times a day for the rest of your life. And then you can put it up high so that you can go back and forth. And then I've got these things. This is called a clip tee. It's called a clip tee. So that if any of you ever want to build these things, just go on the internet and say clip tee. And they just clip on. And then you can pick up your rings. I've got rings all different sizes. And this stuff is all cheap, people. It's inexpensive. It's not like my York 740 pounds of free weights. That was relatively expensive in the early 70s. And so you can just stand. And I missed with the little one, so I'll just I'm telling you people, it's making new brain cells. I'm not kidding. You laugh and you clap and it's all wonderful, but it's crucial. It's for 1,800,000 years we were hunter-gatherers, And we constantly honed our survival skills, which had to do with making shoes and building fires and making clothing. And as hunter-gatherers, a log would fall across a ravine, because down in that ravine was perhaps a snake or some long, tall growths and stuff, but this log, and so we walked across like it was the sidewalk. We did. And we had to get into very narrow caves where once inside, maybe we could have a fire. And anyway, we could barricade it or have a fire so that no animals would come in and get us. Out in the Mesa Verde, it's out in Colorado. Anybody ever heard of that? Yes. Anyway, a whole lot, they think 6,000 different groups. It's a very, very big place. But there was one place for sure where they knew 200 people. 200 people were living, so there were babies born up there. How many of those babies do you think fell off the side of that mountain? None. Probably none. They watched after them and taught them to be careful. And then when people got older and infirm, when did they bring out the walkers? And then how long after that they bring out the wheelchairs? No. You could, that ladder was retractable up to these places. And if you couldn't make that ladder anymore, did they make a little escalator or some kind of little elevator to jerk you up, to get you up there? No, they left you at the bottom of the ladder at night. The Inuits, the Eskimos, they ice flowed you. And I just read a history of the Eskimos that everybody in the tribe, everybody in the group knew what this large stone thing was that was shaped like a very large shark's tooth, triangular at the bottom and square across the top. And when a person got old and tottery and couldn't make sense anymore out of much, a real husky young man would come up behind them, and this would happen so quickly that they would plunge this right through the back of their spine, right here, gone in an instant. So did people try to continue to make that ladder out in Mesa Verde as long as they possibly could? Yes. And if you were an Eskimo and you knew how sometimes older, infirm people were dealt with, would it keep you twitchy and alive and Yes, I think so. I think so. Oh, okie dokie. Oh, this is plumbing parts. It's the same thing as that board there, but this is my non-dominant hand, people. Oh, 3 things that you can do and teach everybody to do instantly that's going to cause their balance, stability, coordination, memory, creativity, everything to get better, is to practice balancing on one foot as long as you can. And do it whenever, we don't want anybody litigious. We've become such a litigious society. My father said, son, don't ever sue anybody. My dad was an attorney. He was so sorry about what happened to practice law in America. And he said, son, don't ever sue anybody. But, so, in the beginning, you can practice just playing the piano here on the back of this seat or table, and then pretty soon you can do it. You can stand. But I stand on one foot in the kitchen, stirring with my dominant hand. So easy, so relatively easy. And once again, this is just plumbing parts. Just plumbing parts glued together. Those are caps. Just go again, look at ones that seem to be interesting, small pieces, couplers, elbows, various sizes of T's, and on and on and on. And you just encourage people, and this could probably be done sitting down, but you just encourage people to practice standing them up like that. Get a whole bunch, practice standing them up. Okay. Now, and I've just been working on making a bunch of these balance boards. Originally, this is just a piece of PVC pipe. This happens to be 4 inches. I've got them 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. I've got all different sizes. And, oh, there is, I did have some stainless steel with me. I didn't realize that. But originally, I just took a piece of Baltic birch plywood. It's extremely stable. It means it doesn't bend when it's, all you people in here are relatively small. And it doesn't, it won't bend with your weight. And so I put some, you go at the hardware store, it's for putting on the edge of stairs so people don't slip and fall. It's grip tape. It's the same stuff that's used on skateboards. Same stuff. Anyway, and I used to stand. What? Wow. Since you're gonna clap for that. Oh, here they are. Oh, well, let's see what this does. I may not be able to. I'm only 78. Or no, 77 going on 78. And I got 18 seconds left. It's telling me right here, 14, 13. And there is so much more that I have, but I'm going to quit on time. Oh! Masking tape. What do I use this for? Painting. Sir? Paint. I do use it for painting. Yes. But I used to put it on the ground, out 20, 30 feet long. This is 3/4, maybe one, this is 3/4. And put it out on the ground in a relatively straight line. And then you're tightrope walking. You're tightrope walking, people, on masking tape. I have 2x4s that are glued on edge, so now it's 2 inches, and I have a 1x4 glued, so it's got little supports. They're only 12 inches long. Down the center, I can go up and I can walk on the plywood, the 1 inch 1x4, and the 2x4s. Okay, I have days more I could share with you, but I am going to stop now so the next person can come up and do their thing. Oh, thank you. Thank you.